Yeehaw, I got snake eyes.
You come at the king, you best not miss.
Today we're building Omar Little, a legendary stick-up man from one of the best HBO shows that isn't The Sopranos, The Wire. Michael K. Williams bringing a class act as one of the best characters ever written in his portrayal of Omar Little. I really do like this character. Goals for this build, we need to have a shotgun, of course, be able to command a presence, be able to rob drug dealers, be able to play the game, in Baltimore at least, and of course we need to be able to command a presence of like-minded individuals for our stick-up gang. For our ancestry, believe it or not, Omar is a human, so we're going to get 8 hit points at level 1, get a speed of 25 feet, get 2 ability boosts, put him dexterity and charisma because Omar needs to shoot and Omar needs to beat Omar. And for our heritage picked skilled, we get a skill at this level and we are able to move it up to expert for free at level 5. I picked diplomacy. Omar likes to talk to people, before he robs them. For background, Omar is considered a criminal, but even if he is a criminal, I wouldn't consider him a typical criminal like Arthur Morgan or Charles Ray. So I'm going to make Omar a bandit. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't hang out with those guys anyways. Pick 2 ability boosts. One must be dexterity charisma, and one is a free one. I pick dexterity and intelligence. You're training intimidation skill, and you pick a lore skill related to the terrain you work in, such as desert lore or plains lore. Pick something related to the city, something to that extent. So if you have a big city in your game, make that your lore. You also gain the group coercion feat, which is very useful for some skills later on. For class, Omar likes to blow people away with a shotgun, so I think a gunslinger is going to work out pretty good for him. Our key ability score is dexterity. At the first level, you get 8 plus your constitution modifier for health at every level. You also get expert in perception, fortitude, and reflex saves, and you're trained in will saves. You're also trained in 1 more skills determined by your gunslinger's way, and you're also trained in additional skills equal to 3 plus our intelligence modifier. For the skills we can't get, I would suggest getting stealth, society, deception, underworld lore, so you can be the best Omar you can be. And as a gunslinger, you're expert in simple and firearms and crossbows, and expert in martial firearms and crossbows. You're trained in advanced firearms and crossbows. You're trained in simple weapons, trained in martial weapons, and trained in armed attacks. You're also trained in medium, light armor, and armor defense, and you're trained in the gunslinger class DC. For our first level boost, put him to strength, dexterity, charisma, and constitution. Omar has a pretty strong build. He has really good aim. He has great charisma, and of course he's pretty tough. He has to be. His main source of income is robbing drug dealers. At the first level, we get our Gunslinger's Way, and Way of the Vanguard is good for someone who uses a big gun or a big crossbow. Slinger's Reload is rank Contor's Reload. You make an athletics check to shove an opponent within your reach using your weapon, and then interact to reload. For the shove, you don't need a free hand. You can use your weapon's item bonus on attack rolls, if any, to the athletics check. If your last attack was a ranged strike with the weapon, you can use the same multiple attack penalty for the strike as you would with a normal attack, and the shove still counts to a multiple attack penalty on further attacks as normal. I count this as you rifle butting someone into a corner. That's how to flavor it. Our Gunslinger's Way skill is, of course, athletics, and our initial deed is going to be living fortification. Interact to draw a firearm or crossbow. You then position the weapon defensively, getting a +1 bonus to your AC until the start of your next turn. Or +2 if the weapon has the parry trait. For our Gunslinger's Feet, hit the dirt, you leap. Your movement gives you a +2 bonus to the AC against a triggering attack. And regardless of whether this attack hits you, you land prone after completing your leap. Singular Expertise, you get a +1 bonus damage to firearms and crossbows. Your proficiency bonus on armed attacks and weapons other than firearms and crossbows can't be higher than trained, even if you gain an ability that increases your proficiency in 1 or more weapons to your highest weapon proficiency. If you have a weapon mastery, the limit is still expert, and if you have gunslinging legend, the limit is master, which tells you you're not going to be as good with any other weapons than you are with your firearms or your crossbows, so I would stick to that. For a natural ambition feat, get cover fire. You make a ranged firearm to crossbow attack. The target must decide before you attack your roll whether to duck out of the way. If the target ducks, it gets a +2 bonus to AC against your attack, or a +4 if it already has cover. It also takes a -2 penalty to ranged attack rolls until the end of the next turn. If the target chooses not to duck, you gain a +1 bonus to your attack roll for the strike. For a second level Gunslinger feat, get Quick Draw. You interact to draw a weapon, and then you strike with it. Omar always keeps one in the chamber. For a skill feat, get Lie to Me. If you engage in a conversation with someone trying to lie to you, you can use your Deception DC. If it's higher than Perception DC, determine whether they succeed. This doesn't apply if you don't have a back and forth dialogue, such as when someone attempts to lie to you during a long conversation. For our third level journal feat, get Toughness to increase our health by our level, get a skill increase, get Intimidation of Expert, and we also get Stubborn. Proficiency rank and will saves increase with Expert. When you would fail, but don't critically fail, a will save against an effect that would give you a controlled condition. You can attempt a second save against effect. At the start of your next turn. On a successful second save, the controlled condition ends, even if other effects remain. As normal, failing the second save doesn't allow you to attempt a third save on the subsequent turn. At Gunslinger level 4, we get running reload. You can stride, step, or sneak, and then interact to reload. When you're on the hunt like Omar, you always need to be ready to be on the offensive. For a skill feat, get Intimidate and Glare. When you do, Demoralize loses the auditory trait and gains the visual trait, and you don't take a penalty to creatures that don't understand your language. A gun is a gun in someone's face. I don't think you really need a language barrier for that. At our 5th level, we get ability boost, put them in Intelligence, Dexterity, Charisma, and Wisdom to really boost our soft stats. For our answer feat, get Clever Improviser. You gain the Untrained Improvisation Journal feat. In addition, you can attempt skill actions that would normally require you to be trained, if you're untrained. And with this feat, it basically means your proficiency bonus with untrained skill checks is equal to half your level instead of 0. And if you're a 7th level or higher, it increases to your full level instead. For a Gunslinger Mastery, your proficiency rank in weapons such as simple and martial firearms increases up to Master, and your rank in advanced firearms and crossbows, as well as simple weapons, martial weapons, and armed attacks increase up to Expert. You also get access to the critical specialization effects of firearms and crossbows. For skill increases, get Underworld Lore up to Expert. Diplomacy also goes with Expert this level. At Gunslinger level 6, we get Phalanx Breaker. Make a ranged attack with a required weapon against a target within weapons range first increment. The target is pushed back directly 10 feet or 20 feet on a critical hit, and this pushes the target into an obstacle. The target takes bludgeoning damage equal to half your level. Shotgun blasts often knock people back, so I think this is a great feat for Omar. Skill feat, get Lasting Coercion. When you successfully coerce someone, the maximum time they comply increases to a week. Still determined by the GM if they would get more or less, but if you're legendary, the maximum increases to a month, so you can really scare people off your block if you really wanted to. Which you should, because Omar does that. At our 7th level, we get Adrenal Feast to get Incredible Initiative to increase our bonus to initiative rolls by a +2. Skill increase to get Intimidation up to Master. Vigilant Senses, your proficiency rank, your Perception increases up to Master. And Weapon Specialization, you deal 2 additional damage with weapons and armed strikes in which you're an expert in, and this increases up to 3 if you're a master of them and 4 if you're legendary. At Gunslinger level 8, we get a feat, get Leap and Fire. When you use the hit dirt reaction at any point during your leap, you can also make a ranged strike with a loaded weapon targeting the creature who triggered the reaction. For skill feat, get Group Coercion. When you coerce someone, you can compare your intimidation check result against the will DCs of 2 targets instead of 1. It's possible to get different degrees of success with each target, but the number of targets you can coerce when the single action increases to 4 if you're an expert, 10 if you're a master, or 25 if you're a legendary. Omar is fierce, and this really gets his intimidation on the streets to the appropriate level it's deserving of Omar. At Gunslinger level 9, we get an Advanced Deed, and we get Spinning Crush with Vanguard. All creatures adjacent to you take 1d6 bludgeoning damage plus your strength modifier. This increases to 2d6 if your firearm has a striking rune, and 3d6 if it's a greater striking rune, etc. This does not apply to effects that increase your damage with firearm strikes such as weapon specialization. Creatures affected by this attack must attempt a basic reflex save. A creature that fails its save also is pushed 5 feet away from you. Get a good shotgun swing in there. It's pretty great. Ancestry feat, I would get Multi-Talent and pick Rogue for a feat later on. Gunslinger Expertise, your proficiency rank in your Gunslinger class DC increase up to Expert. And for skill increase, get Underworld Lore up to Master. At Gunslinger level 10, we get Ability Boost from the Strength, Dexterity, Charisma, and Constitution. For a Gunslinger feat, get Called Shot. Declare a part of your foe's anatomy of the target and make a ranged weapon attack. If you hit and deal damage, the target also gets one of the following effects based on the body part you picked. For arms, the target is enfeebled until the end of your next turn. On a critical hit, it's also enfeebled +1 for 1 minute. Head, target stupefied 2 until the end of your next turn. Critical hit, stupefied 1. Legs takes a negative 10-foot status penalty to its speeds until the end of your next turn. On a critical hit, it's a negative 5 penalty to speeds for 1 minute. And if they have wings, they fall 20 feet or 40 feet on a critical hit. The fall is gradual enough that the target hits the ground and takes no damage from the fall. Omar likes to shoot people in the legs. Keeps them from running. Also, sometimes not vital, except for when it's the thigh. Thighs have arteries. That's very, very fatal. Skill feat, Experienced Professional. When you use lore to earn income, you can roll a critical failure, you get a failure instead. If you're an expert in lore, you gain twice as much income from the failed check to earn income, unless it's originally a critical failure. Omar gets money to afford his ammo, to afford his guns, to afford his armor. So, I think this is pretty useful. At Gunslinger level 11, we get Evasion. Proficiency rank and reflex saves increase with the Master. When you roll a success on a reflex save, it's critical success instead. Journal feat, let's get Die Hard to Die dying condition of 5 instead of 4. Skill increase, get Deception up to Expert. Omar's grandmother believes he works at a food court at an airport. At Gunslinger level 12, get a Gunslinger feat. Through a rope, pick up Dread Striker. Any creature that has a fright condition against you is also flat-foot against your attacks. Skill feat, get Hobnobber. Gather information. Exploration only takes half as long as it normally would, typically reducing to about an hour. If you're a master in diplomacy, you gather information at normal speed. When you attempt to do so and roll a critical failure, you get a normal failure instead. There is no guarantee that a rumor you learn with gather information is accurate, though. At Gunslinger level 13, we get answers if you get Stubborn Persistence. When you would become fatigued, attempt a DC 17 flat check. On a success, you're not fatigued. If the fatigue condition has an underlying cause that you don't address, such as lack of rest, you can attempt a check again at an interval determined by the GM. Gunslinging Legend, your rank increases in Legendary with simple and martial firearms and crossbows, and up to Master with advanced firearms and crossbows. However, your rank with simple weapons, martial weapons, and unarmed attacks increases to Expert. Just stays there. Medium Armor Expertise, your ranks in Light Armor, Medium Armor, and Unarmored Defense increase up to Expert. Skill increases with Diplomacy up to Master. Omar can talk. At Gunslinger level 14, we get a Gunslinger feat, so get Blast Tackle. You attempt a grapple check against a creature. If you're wielding a weapon in both hands, you release one of your hands to do so you don't have to drop your shotgun. If your grapple succeeds, you can immediately strike the target with your shotgun, dealing 3d6 precision damage. What's great is if the target remains grabbed or restrained, you can continue to reload and shoot with that weapon with one hand. Skill feat, get Glad Hand. When you meet someone in a casual conversation or social situation, you can immediately attempt a diplomacy check to make an impression on the creature, rather than need to converse for 1 minute. You do take a -5 penalty to the check, though. At Gunslinger level 15, we get ability boost, put them in Intelligence, Dexterity, Charisma, and Wisdom. General feat, get Hireling Manager. When you secure a Hireling for a service, the Hireling gains a +2 bonus to all skill checks. That includes trained and untrained Hirelings, and has no effects on the cost and service or the labor provided. Greater D to get Siegebreaker, you leap and stride. You make a strike with the required firearm or crossbow against the adjacent target. Strike deals damage additional to 3d8 bludgeoning damage and ignores 10 points of the target's hardness, or their shield's hardness they're trying to use a shield block. After the strike, you become immobilized in the position that required weapon defensively, gaining a +1 bonus to your AC, or +2 bonus to the chosen weapon has a parry trait. The effects last until the start of your next turn. However, if a force would force you to move while you're mobilized, they must succeed an appropriate check against your class DC. I call this using a shotgun charge, dealing a big heavy hit with your pumpkin shots. That's how I would word it, at least. Greater weapon specialization, your damage for weapon specialization increases to +4 with weapons and armed attacks in which you're expert in, and +8 if you're legendary. Skill increases get intimidation up to legendary because Omar don't scare, Omar scares everyone. At Gunslinger level 16, get Dance of Thunder. Take any of the following actions you choose in any order, such as Step, strike against the target within your weapon's first range increment, then interact to reload. If you attempted a strike and it succeeded, you can repeat these 3 actions again in any order. If you attempted to strike a second time and succeeded, you can repeat these actions 1 more time. However, after Dance of Thunder, you become fatigued for 1 minute. Skill feat, get Battle Cry. When you roll initiative, you can yell out a mighty battle cry and demoralize any observed foe as a free action. For legendary intimidation, you can use a reaction to demoralize your foe when you critically succeed an attack roll. At Gunslinger level 17, you get a bounce back for answer feat. Once per day, you don't increase the wounded condition after losing the dying condition. Juggernaut, your rank in Fortitude saves increase up to Master. When you roll a success on a Fortitude save, you critical success instead. Shoot its edge, your rank in Gunslinger DC increases up to Master. And when you use a ranged weapon in which you have a Master or great proficiency, you ignore the penalty for attacking within the weapon's 2nd and 3rd range increments. For skill increase to get Underworld Lore up to Legendary, be it String, Prop Joe, Marlowe, you know the streets of Boston very well. At Gunslinger level 18, you get a Gunslinger feat, so get Piercing Critical. When you strike with a firearm or crossbow for which you have Legendary proficiency in, you critically succeed on a 19 on a die as long as the result would have been a success. Skill feat, get Legendary Professional. This works as Legendary Performer, except you gain higher level jobs when you earn income with your Underworld Lore. You're a stick-up man by trade. This is perfect. At level 19 for Adrenal feat, get Fleet. Your speed increases up to 5 feet for an even 30. Incredible Senses, your rank in Perception increases up to Legendary. Medium Armor Mastery, your proficiency rank in Light Armor, Medium Armor, and Armor Defense increases up to Master. For a skill increase, get Deception up to Master as well. At level 20, we get our last ability boost. Put them in Charisma, Dexterity, Intelligence, and Constitution. Gunslinger feat, get Perfect Readiness. You're permanently quickened. You can use your extra action only to step or interact to reload. Omar always keeps one in the chamber. Skill feat, get Terrified Retreat. When you critically succeed to demoralize action, if the target's level is lower than your own, so the target is fleeing for 1 round. Omar coming is to get the hell out of their alarm in Baltimore. With all that being said, do you want to be a stick-up man? Let's start with Intimidation. You're shaking people down with a low of 34 and a high of 53. Omar is fierce in the streets of Baltimore. Also, you're locked and loaded with a 10% chance to be rolling a crit, high damage, as well as being able to deal precision damage on certain attacks. Omar is dangerous. You also have high charisma and high charisma skills, making you versatile out of combat as well as in combat. Multiple ways to talk to people, shake them down, and lie to people. Omar knows how to play the game. And the game is the game. You got the shotgun and they got the dice. Blast in, take them for all they got, and make a name for yourselves in the streets of Baltimore. Just remember, if you come at the king, you best not miss. Rest in peace, Michael K. Williams. You were great.